Hi, my name is Chimeke Arize. I'm a third year medical student, and I am here to tell you to subscribe to Sir Majesty Easy World, where science is fun.
It's time for you to understand what is even a species that we are talking about, because this is where the argument lies. That will enable you to know evolution in a small scale, in a larger scale, micro, divergent, convergent. What is even a species? There are many examples of convergent evolution. Another one is wings of birds and wings of bats. Bat is a mammal coming from different class, while bird is coming from different class. They are. Then other evolution, other forms of evolution that might be discussed is parallel evolution, co-evolution, and most importantly, microevolution. So, I'll take that up. Organisms that arise from common ancestor, but they are superficially looking different. Why? Because they occupy different environments. And this is what that we timed.
Hi, my name is Cheryl.
And I'm Jennifer.
Guess what? There's a channel called Sir Majesty Easy World Science.
And do you know the best part?
Mm-hmm.
It makes science so easy. Wow.
It makes science easy, simplified, and very, very fun.
Guess what? Rocket science ain't rocket science anymore.
It's now ABC.
Like if you did science your entire life.
Another thing about Sir Majesty Easy World Science channel is that he makes available laboratory equipment and reagents.
Guess the best part? If chemistry has been hard for you, he does tutorials.
And another thing is, when you order for these things, they are high quality and they are also cheap and affordable for anybody.
If you want to order, just look at the number below the screen.
And don't forget to subscribe and hit the little notification button down below.
Don't forget to share, of course. Obviously, there's love in sharing.
Thank you. See you there.
Now, we go to types of evolution. Types of evolution. Here, I'll teach you what is actually obtainable generally. There are two main types of evolution, but we can still have other forms of evolution. So in the types of evolution, one is divergent evolution. Divergent evolution, otherwise known as adaptive radiation. Adaptive radiation. Then the second one is convergent evolution. Convergent evolution. Some might also discuss other one like parallel evolution. I'll also give you other forms, but let me tell you, and also co-evolution. But I want to discuss these two common types of evolution. Now, the word diverge means, it's a very simple thing. You start from a source and start spreading. Remember when I started this class, I told you that I see evolution as unity in diversity and diversity in unity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all originated from a point. Then these points all give rise to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Starting from origin, spreading. So in this case, diverge. If you move from here to here, diverge. Then if you want to come from here and join here, you converge. So when we talk about divergent evolution, it's just like evolution of superficially different species that have related ancestors. That is, organisms that arise from common ancestor, but they are superficially looking different. Why? Because they occupy different environments. And this is what Darwin termed adaptive radiation. They radiated because they all spread to occupy different what? Environments. Remember, when you occupy different environments, that's your natural selection. Now, let's assume we have people that, let me use it that in your family, they gave birth to you, the same father and mother. One is tall, the other short, the other beautiful, the other ugly, 4 of you. And eventually, they spread everywhere. Let's assume we have groups, tall group, short group, beautiful and ugly groups. And they spread everywhere. If 4 of them will go to a region where the beauty are only worshipped, it's only that beautiful one that will survive. The ugly, the tall, and the short will never be there in that environment. Then if the other environment favors the tall people, it's only those people that are tall who will survive there. the beautiful, the short, will no longer be there. And that is what this thing is explaining. Remember, he told us that, Darwin told us of having organisms showing different characters. Not that God, according to him, went and placed them in different environments. No. They were reproduced, over-reproduced, and they scattered everywhere. Different environments. They occupied different environments. Then each of the environments selected the ones that have features that make that organism to survive there. Then the other one will eliminate it. That's why they talk about evolution of species. If you look at them, they will be superficially looking like they are not the same, but they once shared a common ancestor. And that's what they call divergent evolution. For exam purposes, there are only few examples of divergent evolution. This is where most people that answer, they answer wrongly here. Divergent evolution, when an organism have a common ancestor, when two organisms or three organisms have a common ancestral species, but superficially, that's physical, when we say superficial appearance, looking at the organism, it will look as if they are not related, but they are related. So evolution of superficially different species that are sharing common ancestor is called divergent evolution. Why? Because they occupy different environments, which favor different characters. So you only find yourself in the environment that accepts you. Do you understand that now? So there are a few examples. Examples of divergent evolution is exhibited by that of Darwin's finch and Austrian marsupial. The Darwin's finch and Austrian marsupial. Take note. So the Darwin's finch, from what I do here, there are ones that have the beak modified for feeding on nectar, as you can see, I'm drawing here. The other ones, one of them have the beak modified for woodpeckers, maybe something like this, strong beak. Then they have different, their head and every other thing look alike, but their beak differs. The stout beak for picking. So, and they all started from one large ground finch. So this bird gave rise to different birds with different modifications of mouth parts. And this is typical example of divergent evolution. Darwin's finch is a good example of divergent evolution. Then Austrian marsupials are also a good example of divergent evolution. They started from this, and when you look at this beak, it looks as if they did not originate here, but they originated. Why? This one found itself in an environment that favored only those that suck nectar, because it has the features that will enable it suck nectar. These ones that don't have the ability cannot exist there, but they are a bit related. So that is divergent evolution. Then the opposite of divergent evolution is convergent evolution. It's just the development of superficial similar structures from organisms that have unrelated ancestors. I'm discussing convergent evolution. Development of superficially similar structures by by species that have unrelated ancestral parents. That is, when you have two organisms look as if they have common ancestors, but they have different ancestors. Let me bring it lower to your understanding. Husband and wife that resemble, you take it as convergent. Why? Because the woman has a separate parent, the man has a separate parent. But when you see the two of them, you might ask the man, is this your younger sister? That is a good example of convergent. They came from different sources, different ancestors, but they are now looking alike. Remember, this is just an example that makes you understand what I'm saying, not that this is the scientific example. Then if you see two sisters, one is fair and tall, then the other one is short and ugly, but they have the same father and mother. That is typical example of divergent evolution. They are looking as if they are not of the same source, but they came from the same parent. So in convergent evolution, I repeat, it's just the development of superficially similar structures by organisms that share unrelated ancestral species. So good examples are fins of fish and flippers of whale. Take note. Streamlined body of whale and streamlined body of fish. Remember, children think that whale belongs to fish, but whales are mammals. but they have streamlined body just like fish. So why? Why would they have related superficially structures? Because of common environments. Listen, when I made mention of divergent, I said they have superficially different structures, but they come from the same ancestor but to occupy different environments. But in convergent evolution, species that share different ancestors have similar superficial structure because they share common environment. Do you get the message here? When organisms live, the closer organisms live, the more superficially they look alike. That is convergent evolution. I gave you one example, the flipper of whale and the fin of fish. And the second one is the streamlined shape of fish and streamlined shape of whale. And I told you that kids look at whale as fish, but it's never a fish. If some of you might answer what is the biggest fish, you answer whale. It's wrong. Whale is never in the class of Pisces. Whale is a mammal and it breastfeeds. I know this might shock you, but that's the fact. That's the scientific truth there. So whales are mammals, but they are now looking like they are fish. So this is a typical example of, there are many examples of convergent evolution. Another one is wings of birds and wings of bats. Bat is a mammal coming from different class, while bird is coming from different class, the aves. They are now flying. When you see the chiropteran, the bats, the flying mammals, you think they are birds, but they are never birds. So bat is not a bird, rather bat is a mammal. But birds have feathers. Bats have hairs, which is one of the distinguishing features, which is a feature that is only found in mammals, actually. So, with this, I believe we are now clear about these two types of evolution, convergent evolution and divergent evolution. So, there are many of them. Anytime they give you an example and you check that this has a common ancestral source, but they are looking different physically, that is divergent evolution. They use this to occupy different environments. But when you see organisms that have similar species, but they are not sharing the common ancestor, or they don't belong to the same class, but they live in the same environment, that is convergent evolution. They come from different sources and converge. You know the pinnipeds, the sea lion, the walrus, many of them. When you see them in water, you may think that they are fish, and they have their features to swim. So that is the two types of evolution. Then other forms of evolution that might be discussed is parallel evolution, co-evolution, and most importantly, microevolution. So, I'll take that of co-evolution. Evolution of two different species that complementarily need each other. That is evolution of a flower and the pollinator, insect pollinator of that flower. Evolution of bread and butter. This one is coming, this one is coming. They complementarily need each other. If there is an insect pollinated flower and an insect that will pollinate it come alongside due to the driving pressure in the environment, this is what we call co-evolution. That's evolution of two species that complementarily need each other is what we call co-evolution. Then another one is microevolution. Evolution in a small scale. Evolution in a small scale that is not enough to differentiate between a species. See what I mean? That is evolution happening within a species, but it is not capable of making the other group a new species altogether. That is microevolution. For example, examples of microevolution are industrial melanism, sickle cell anemia. It might interest you to know that in the beginning, sickle cell anemia wasn't in existence. It came from mutation of those that have normal hemoglobin. So sicklers evolved from the ones that have normal hemoglobin, the AA individuals. So when we get to the point of mutation in genetics, just stay subscribed. There are things we call point mutation. You now know what we call, what caused actually sickle cell anemia was a gene mutation whereby instead of inserting glutamic acid in the beta chain of the hemoglobin, valine was inserted. That means GAG was misread as GTG. Guanine, thiamine, guanine replaced guanine, adenine, guanine. And this minor thing now created a new character. When you look at sicklers, They have some distinguishing feature in them, of course. Most of them, when you look at them, their expressions are phenotypic, meaning they are phenotypically expressed that you can know the difference, unlike AA and AS. AS are still superficially similar. But can you see now that sequelars now look a bit different from us? But it is minor. We are still of the same species. So that is what we call microevolution. Another example I said is industrial melanism. Some insects found close to heavy industries producing carbon monoxide suits appear to be darker in complexion than those of them very far away from the industrial area. This is fact. If you live close, like if there had been a pollution, even the leaves around the heavy industrialized area appear to be darker than those of them very far away, like leaves of plants of the same species. The other ones situated far away from the industry are lighter in appearance. So what caused this? It is still creating difference. And this difference with time might become so big that they will now form a new species. I think even resistance of antibiotic in some bacterial species is also a good example of microevolution. So these are the other common forms of evolution that you can come across, apart from divergent, convergent evolution. Now it is time for you to understand what is even a species that we are talking about, because this is where the argument lies. That will enable you to know evolution in a small scale, in a larger scale, micro, divergent, convergent. What is even a species? Species are actually a group of organisms that can freely interbreed between themselves to produce fertile young ones of their kind, or to produce fertile offspring of their kind. Any two species that can interbreed and produce something that looks like them are referred to as a species. So species, remember, in biology, there is nothing like species. You must put it S, whether plural or singular. So species actually, or species is a group of organisms that can freely interbreed within themselves to produce fertile young one. Like man versus monkey can never give birth to anything. Some people will say they will give birth to a monster. It doesn't happen. Remember, crossbreeding is only possible when the organisms are related. When they are very far, they cannot interbreed to produce anything fertile. So man and monkey are of different species. But an African man getting married to a Chinese, getting married to an Indian, getting married to an American, they will still give birth to humans, which means we are still of the same species. AA marries a secular, they will still give birth to humans, so which means they are not yet enough to become a separated species. So that is it for species definition. Now, let us see evidence to support organic evolution. This might interest you to know there are wealth of evidence that proves in the morning.
I love you. Thank you for watching.
And